Hello everybody, I hope you guys are enjoying your Tuesday. Today we're going to be looking at another storm that could be impacting parts of California, Oregon, and Washington with some pretty heavy rainfall, 5 to 6 inches expected, and it's quite a notable event, and it's one of the most notable events that will be happening within the next about 5 days. Really not a lot going on currently, so it's very hard to kind of find topics to talk about currently on the YouTube channel, but today we're going to be looking at that storm, and then we're also going to be looking at my forecast kind of compared to what actually happened, and that's what we're going to start off with here. But before we do get into it, please consider subscribing, leaving a like, and turning on notifications so you never miss a video when I upload. Anyways, getting into our forecast compared to what actually happened, here's what the snowfall accumulations were. So let's kind of outline this and show you what each color means. So first, something to note, the storm is not finished in these areas over northern New York, northern Vermont, northern New Hampshire, and then into northern Maine. Now, we're going to look at where you got a coating, at least a coating, in all of these areas outlined in this blue, and that was fairly far south. I didn't take into account in my forecast, by the way, the Appalachian snowfall. It was a bit harder to predict that, so I didn't take that into account. If you guys were wondering why my forecast has that line of coding to an inch right around there and not extending down into West Virginia and then into Virginia and North Carolina, that's because I did not take it into account the Appalachian mountain chain with this forecast. But of course, these areas did get about a coating, to some areas even seeing up to 6 inches of snowfall. Now, here's your next area. This is your 1 to 3 inch area. Again, this is not what I forecasted. We're going to be looking at that in a little bit. This is what actually happened. So, everywhere outlined in this lighter blue, this is a 1 to 3 inch area. All these areas saw above 1 to 3 inches of snowfall. Now, here's your 3 to 6 inch area, and you see just a little higher elevation area in West Virginia, and then into upstate New York, Pennsylvania, northern New Jersey, and then really for most of southern and central New England. This far, it does look, at least if on radar, it does look like these areas up in here will see around 3 to 6 inches, like I was forecasting. And then some areas, especially into the northern and central part of the state, where some heavier 2 inch bands of snowfall are setting up, potentially seeing closer to 7 or 8 inches or even more. Now, here's your 6 to 12 inch area. Everywhere in this purple is your 6 to 12 inch area. And that's for Massachusetts, northern Rhode Island, northern Connecticut, northern New Jersey, and then into most of central and southern New York and northern Pennsylvania, mainly northeastern Pennsylvania. Now, 12 to 18 inches were in this maroon color, but for my forecast, it's in this kind of darker blue, darker purple. So this is your 12 to 18 inch. So this is where you saw above a foot of snowfall, and this is really over central and southern and eastern New York, near the Albany area, and then stretching into near Worcester, Massachusetts, and then into Concord, New Hampshire, and then all into southern and mainly central New England, where you saw 12 to 18 inches of snowfall, and then you had this 18 to 24 inch area inside of there for western Massachusetts, southern New Hampshire, and southern Vermont, and then into eastern parts of upstate New York, and you saw about over a foot and a half at least in those areas, and then 24 to 36 inches, over 2 feet of snow. Some areas getting near 30 inches of snowfall with this event, so very impactful over the Northeast. And that's just blotchy areas in and around here. But generally, this area saw about 20 inches of snowfall or more, so very interesting how that played out. Now, here's what I forecasted, and it's going to be kind of overlaid onto this map so you can really get a good idea. Again, I didn't take into account the Appalachian mountain range, so that's why this is really more of a straight line and not dipping down into the Appalachians. But you see, this is where I put a coating to an inch of snowfall all the way down into central Ohio, into Maryland, and then into northern West Virginia, and then down into the Delmarva. And this was really hard to predict, especially where the southern extent was, because it really depended on where those banding features set it up. And really, you saw a good band of snowfall start to develop right around north here, and then you also saw some good banding, kind of into central southern New Jersey, into the Philadelphia area, and then also into kind of central Pennsylvania. But that only was for a couple of hours, and then it kind of tapered off. I was looking at the radars while this event was going on, and you could really see that banding, and then a lot of banding into New England, which this storm is still going on. Just so I can note. Now here's your 1 to 3 inch area, and this really, I feel like I messed up on the southern extent of this. So the 1 to 3 inch area, and now looking at it, it should have been somewhere right around here. That's where the 1 to 3 inch area what should have been. But I really think I got the bullseye of this correct, which you'll be seeing just in a little bit. So here's your 3 to 6 inch area, and again, this should have been put further north, right around the New York City line, and then going up into northern New Jersey around the Scranton area, and then into northeast Pennsylvania. Now, your 6 to 12 inch area, I think I got this fairly correct, but what kind of messed me up here was some banding did occur out west, more west of where I thought it would, and that kind of led to, especially some lake effect enhanced snow, which is kind of very hard to predict. But putting that aside, I still did get this slightly incorrect, but I feel like I got the bullseye fairly good, especially getting it pretty good with where the 6 to 12 inch area is. Now, 12 to 18 inches, I feel like I really nailed this one. It really almost outlines it perfectly, and I got a comment a couple days ago about the coastal areas. I can't take those into account as well. Kind of like the mountain chains. I'll try to account for the mountain chains, but the coastal areas, that's gonna be near impossible for me to draw out for the coastal areas. So what my general rule of thumb is, kind of half the amounts that you see on the map for wherever you are. So if you're in a coastal area, kind of half these amounts, unless I'll probably note it in the video I do that forecast. I'll kind of say half this, or kind of take off 6 inches of what you're expecting if you're on a coastal area. It's just very hard to draw that. But that is my forecast compared. Some higher isolated amounts, which really couldn't be forecasted until a couple of hours out, did occur inside of this. But overall, I think my forecast was good for the bullseye, but really struggled on the southern extent and where that really located. So I'm gonna have to take that into account. My next forecast, so I'm gonna try and keep that in the back of my mind while I make my next forecast when we do get our next snowstorm. Now, we're gonna look here at the National Weather Service right now. That was my forecast compared to what actually happened. Now here's what the National Weather Service is showing currently, and then we're gonna look at that storm for the western coast and the southwest. So here's some air quality alerts and dense fog advisories over northern Nevada into southwest Idaho and into eastern parts of Oregon, and then you have winter weather advisories and winter storm warnings up for Maine, and then some lake effect snow north of Erie, near the Buffalo area, I think south of Buffalo. That's where you have some lake effect enhanced snowfall over those areas, and then higher elevations, I assume, over California, seeing some winter weather advisories as well, but pretty quiet on the National Weather Service page, and that is how it is really weather-wise as well. It's really quiet over the U.S., not a lot going on. Here's the here's the European model. I just want to show you this view out of the Pacific, and this is only about 50 hours out, this storm occurring, so it is quite likely that this will actually occur, but I just want to show you this rotation that you see. You really see that eye, kind of like a hurricane. It's not going to be a hurricane. The winds won't be high enough, not enough moisture really to be a hurricane, and it's very unfavorable conditions since these temperatures in the ocean right now are really in the 40s and 50s, but once you get further south, probably in the 60s and 70s, but usually 1 to 80 degrees or above sea surface temperatures for hurricanes, typhoons, whatever to occur, but really temperature is way too low for that, so it's just going to be a rain event for now and a snow event for the higher elevations. Now, we're going to zoom it out into the United States, the full United States view. And this is in 3-hour increments, but we're going to look at this. You see, it starts to get onto shore by Wednesday, let's say be Wednesday morning, and then into Wednesday night, and then Thursday morning, all out of California pretty much, and then it's into the Southwest. So Nevada, Utah, Colorado, New Mexico, into Arizona. Could be seeing some snowfall and rainfall for the lower elevations, and then it continues north, and it kind of just dissipates. And then here's that rain for parts of the the southeast, and here's your total snowfall out of this. So you're seeing generally a good 3 to 5 inches, and then once you get into the Sierras, you're seeing a good 2 to 3 feet of snowfall, and those are higher elevations. And then here you can see Ezekiel kind of wrapping up, delivering a good 6, 7 inches more of snowfall over parts of Maine and into eastern New England, but really wrapped up for the rest of the Northeast. Now here is your total rainfall, and you're seeing a good in those reds, that's about 2 to 5 inches. So you're seeing that widespread over northern California and into southern Oregon. And then once you get, especially the higher elevations, picking up more liquid precipitation, most of it in the form of snowfall. But definitely some areas closer to the shore could get a lot of rainfall out of this. And if we kind of continue this, you see. Generally about 1 to 2 inches over parts of the southeast. Now here's the GFS model. Just want to show you this. So with the GFS, you see by Wednesday morning, same timing basically, and it kind of dissipates, and then it has that rainfall less centered over southern Louisiana and more over northern Mississippi, northern Alabama, and north central parts of Arkansas. So then, as we continue this a little bit more, goes off to this off to sea, and it kind of goes out, and then it's gonna eventually re-strengthen into Europe, but that's way off the shore and way out in time. Now here is your total precipitation from this, generally about half an inch to 1 inch. Over in the west coast, you're seeing about 2 to 5 inches. Some isolated areas seeing closer to 6 inches of snowfall. One thing I want to note, GFS is picking up on a lot of actually sleet and freezing rain over this area, and this is highly unlikely to happen, as this storm is about 7 days out, almost 10 days out from this actually happening. So the location of this is probably a little bit off with the GFS. At least the GFS is really one of the only models showing it, and then you have, I'm not going to show it in this video just because it's very uncertain, but and then you have a lot of GFS showing almost 3 to 4 inches of sleet and freezing rain, and that's very unlikely, and that would definitely take down some trees, and that would cause a lot of power outages. But again, it's not very likely to happen, so that's why I didn't show it in this video. Just wanted to note on that. Here's your total snowfall kind of to wrap up the video, and you're seeing generally around 1 to 6 inches. Higher elevations seeing 6 to 24 inches, and then over the Sierras, some areas seeing closer to 3 feet of snowfall. Anyways, I hope you guys did enjoy this video. Very quiet in the weather community lately, so not a lot to talk about. I'll try to find video topics and try to get daily uploads out to you, but I can't really promise, as again, there's not a lot to talk about in the weather community. Anyways, guys, that was Eli the Weather Guy. Please consider liking the video, subscribing, and turning on post notifications. Anyways, that was Eli the Weather Guy, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.